Hello, I'm Laura MacPhee, a reporter at Pensions Insight and Engaged Investor magazine, and I'm here with Alan Rubenstein, Chief Executive of the Pension Protection Fund. Good morning, Alan. It's very good to have you here. So first of all, I was just going to ask you about the PPF's investment strategy, because it seems to have been a great success. So what do you think is the key to that?
I think we have a number of clear tenets in our approach. Firstly, we are deliberately low risk, so we have a risk tolerance which is probably about a third of the average pension fund, and we think that's appropriate for the position we occupy in the UK pensions framework. Secondly, we try to avoid taking on risks that we don't think we're adequately rewarded for. So that's typically inflation risk, interest rate risk, and so we typically tend to hedge most of our exposure there out. Thirdly, we try not to double up in our bets. So, for example, in our UK equities, we don't have any. Our equity portfolio is very much overseas equities, because otherwise we'd effectively be carrying the risk twice. And then finally, we try to make sure that our active investments are diversified, so we maximise our return for the degree of risk that we're prepared to carry.
And what can other pension schemes learn from your experiences?
I think it's a very interesting question, because one of the things we're very clear about is that because of our position we have, I think, quite a unique strategy, and therefore it wouldn't work for everybody. But I think certainly we would encourage people to think about the amount of risk they run, to think about LDI approaches, to think about diversification, and where we're headed next, for example, is illiquidity, to try and use the fact that we don't necessarily need to have a high degree of liquidity in our assets to see if we can capture that premium. And I know there's a number of other pension funds looking at that same kind of thing, and that's partly why we're interested in infrastructure, for example.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you about next. You're very involved with the pension infrastructure platform, I know, and I just wondered how that actually works.
Well, the objective of the pensions infrastructure platform is to invest in a portfolio which will include equity, will include debt, will be largely UK, and will seek to achieve a return of somewhere between 2 and 5% in real terms. And if you think about that as doing that on a low risk basis, replacing gilts, for example, you can see that with gilts currently yielding 0 or negative, then that is a significant improvement. The platform itself is, as you probably know, being funded by 10 founder members, of which the PPF is one. We're currently at the process of looking for managers, be those internal or external, and later on this year, hopefully very early in the second half of the year, we will be opening to other pension funds to participate as well. So the ambition has always been, it's not, as some people seem to think, just for the big funds. We as a group are funding it because we think it's the right thing to get it moving, but our ambition has always been to open it to all UK pension funds.
And when do you think the smallest pension funds will be able to use it?
Well, as I say, my hope is that in the second half of this year we'll be able to open for subscription to all pension funds.